It's time to be woke. Take off your shades, it helps see through the smoke. Cause the wicked hide behind the cloak. And if you stay in the mist, you gon' be soaked. So listen up, cause this hair of the dog. What's real, what ain't? Is this the fog or smog? Cause there's a difference when you breathe it in. So don't let the corporate media take you for a spin. This that morning show, they put you in the know. So I hope that you ready, cause all we do is go, go, go. Yeah, come get your info, you gon' be like, whoa. Hair of the dog, we bout that, ayy. We in the zone, we out here, yeah. Speeding.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Hair of the Dog. I'm Andy Kennedy, and yes, it is Fuck It Friday. Woohoo! We are going to have some fun today because we got a full house, and we are spreading the joy, and that'll mean more to you a little bit later. But anyways, I just wanted to mention before we get started, because we are a week and a day away from the biggest progressive march that has ever happened. And it is going to be huge. It's going to be exciting. But we are seeing a little pushback. And I know, here's my shocked look. But we are understanding in this space that I think it's something in the neighborhood of 70 to 75% of all Americans, including right-wing Americans, want Medicare for all. So this is hugely popular across the United States. So if you are not in favor of Medicare for all, it's not because of, whatever, maybe you're misinformed, but it's very simple. If you're online and you're talking shit about this march for Medicare for all, it's because you don't want it. There is no other reason. And we're going to call you out, right, for the right-winger or DNC operative that you are. And I'm really hoping that we can get into the meat of that a little bit with our guests. And there's a lot of them. And quite honestly, I'm a little claustrophobic, so I'm freaking out a bit here. But I think we're going to be okay. But this starts off first with introduction of my lovely and talented co-host, Miss Carrie Barber. Good morning, Carrie.
Hey, Andy, good morning. And in case this is your first time joining us, we have a couple rules of engagement and a full disclosure this morning. So first off, welcome. We welcome everyone, and we are now syndicated on several different networks, as well as on podcasts like Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio. So welcome. We're also part of the Fred Hampton Leftists, and we believe strongly in what all of that entails. So if you're watching us on each one of these syndication channels, hey, welcome to the family. We encourage dialogue. We encourage you to jump in the conversation. Type in the chat, we'll see it, and we'll have that conversation. However, we go by facts. We are not left, right. We are solidly in the fact-centered space. So keep that in mind. The other thing is, typically we try to be objective, but in this particular topic, we just can't. We just can't. There are too many people suffering and dying needlessly. So I just want to let everyone know that I have been an advocate for Medicare for all since 2010 as an expert hired by a huge insurance company to help install the ACA and get that working. It was my experience working with their legion of lawyers, marketing professionals, and everything else on how that they were going to game the system with ACA to make sure that they kept their profits going. That's what motivated me. So I know the ACA inside and out. I know Medicare for all inside and out. I know private insurance inside and out. If you have questions about those sorts of things, I'll try to get to it, but I am definitely planning a full deep dive next week on all of those topics. So before we get into it, I want to make sure that we understand the context of what we're actually talking about. And sometimes it's helpful to go back a little bit in history and really discuss where we are now. So Andy, let's get right into it. This is the first slide, the March for Medicare for All. It's the black and white slide. So for those of you who don't know U.S. history, and most Americans are, let's be honest, our education on history was shit. So here it is. You might be interested to know that Teddy Roosevelt, the Republican president, was the first one to include health insurance and national coverage when he ran for president in 1912. 1912. That's over a century where this topic has kept cropping up. And then you had Harry Truman. He called for the creation of the National Health Insurance Fund in 1945. This was originally supposed to be for all of our service members and their families, which later became TRICARE. But this idea was so popular that it evolved into what we now know as Medicare. Medicare was originally introduced in 1965, and it was meant to cover our seniors. But here's the part that they don't tell you. The original plan in that rollout was incremental, to incrementally drop the age of eligibility until it covered every citizen. That was in 1965. What would happen? They stopped. They actually stopped. The next big change that happened was in 1972, and this was under Richard Nixon, who signed the legislation to cover individuals under the age of 65 with long-term disabilities and individuals with end-stage renal disease. Here's a fun fact you may not know. For those who are disabled, like myself, you have to wait 2 years to become eligible. This means in that time, in that 2-year period, if you die because you can't get access to healthcare, you've actually saved the program money and they call you collateral damage. Is that really the kind of moral country that we want to be in when we have more than enough resources and everything else to cover our most vulnerable? All right, so now that we've got this framework in place, we're going to shift a little bit. And if you haven't already seen the information that's been coming out, welcome. There are marches happening all across the country in cities near you, and you can participate. And we're going to talk about why a march might be necessary. Some of you may know that back over 120 days ago, Representative Jayapal introduced legislation. It's number HR 1796. And that is the Medicare for All legislation that is sat in Congress collecting dust. They're not doing anything. And even Jayapal has since come out saying, I don't want to vote on it. Meanwhile, our families, our communities are suffering. We are dying. And if you missed our show on Wednesday, I made mention of a really fun fact. In 10 states, sepsis is the common bacterial infection. You get it from an untreated cut, or you get a UTI or something else that's not treated, and then sepsis grows and it's toxic and your organs shut down. Sepsis is now the leading cause of death, one of the top 3 in 10 states. It's right behind cancer and heart attack. How does that happen in a nation that is so wealthy, so powerful, and so great? Well, it's because we cannot afford to see the doctor because of the insurance structure that we're in. So without further ado, I want to bring on our guests because we have a full panel this morning, and we want to talk about some of the controversy that's come up. Some of the, I have personally been exposed to the DNC progressive attack dogs coming after me. So let's talk about all of this, why a march would be important, and all that entails. So let's get right into it. And I want to introduce to you the organizers of the Chicago event. And this is Joy Bunton and Anna. Anna, pronounce your last name for me.
Schiefelbein.
One more time.
Schiefelbein.
Thank you, Schiefelbein.
Got it.
Excellent. And then we also have 2 other really special guests with us today who are part of the national organizing infrastructure to help all of these city groups get things off to the right start. So we are so thrilled to welcome Savage, Joy, and Sharif, who are from the national organizing group. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
You guys.
Awesome. So let's start with Chicago. because this was my home city until just recently. And yeah, I'm going to toss this out to Ann and Joy, whichever one of you wants to talk about it. But the rumbles that I've been hearing is it's not really getting a lot of support in Chicago, but yet you guys handed me a flyer with all of these sponsors. Andy, did you have that graphic?
I do.
So I'm confused. What's going on in Chicago?
I didn't hear that we're not getting a lot of support. Where do you hear that from?
Yeah, I hadn't heard that either.
I'm shocked myself.
Victor,
Okay, so
Tammy Duckworth.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is rhetoric coming out of, I'm not going to name names this morning, but there are some local Chicago PDA folks who are saying, no, we're going to stay away from that. And they were also,
but Carrie, why would they say that?
Right. So where is this pushback coming from, do you think? I mean, I'm going to ask you to speculate. That's not fair. Well, let's be honest. But Joy, what's going on?
Well, that is surprising because, like Anna said, I hadn't heard anything like that at all. And as a matter of fact, as far as PDA, one of our speakers is Dr. Pam Gronemeyer, who's PDA Illinois and Central Illinois. And she also has a Southern Illinois People for Progress, and she is a PNHP Illinois member. And
she's a Green Party member too, an Illinois Green
Party member too. Okay, so if that's the case, that's news to me because we definitely have PDA support, and even Dr. Bill, because I had reached out to Dr. Bill Honigman, and he supports it. I was the one to bring in PDA to begin with, so I'm not aware of PDA not supporting it at all. They've stuck with us throughout, the little brouhaha that we had, and they're still right there, as well as all the other organizations. So this, yes, news to me. Totally.
Yeah, I was personally delighted that you have Martise Chisholm, and if that name doesn't ring a bell for you, get to Google right now. Get to Google right now, and you can see her heritage. And I can tell you that Martise absolutely inherited that backbone. Absolutely. And she is a phenomenal speaker, phenomenal advocate, and a member of National Nurses United. So she's going to be speaking. And then I know Dr. Pam very well from the advocacy. So you have this full lineup of speakers that are coming out in support of Medicare for all. So let me ask you, why are we doing these marches? Why do you feel like this is important?
Well, I feel like it's so important because we need to get people on the ground engaged again, because there's so much focus in terms of what's going on in Washington, and we need to bring it back local, bring it back, all politics is local. And so we need to get back out there and make our voices heard, especially when a rep of ours or reps aren't doing what we want them to do. It's like, okay, whatever you say, we're gonna make our voices heard. This is what we want, whatever you think we want. This is what we want, and we want to make our presence known. And we're going to be marching across from Blue Cross Blue Shield building, and we're going to end up with our rally at the Federal Plaza, because neither one of our senators support Medicare for all. So that's the whole idea behind our route of going where we're going from, with big corporation Blue Cross, wind up at Federal Plaza.
Now,
No,
Joy.
I remember,
oh, sorry, Carrie. I just want to say, now, Joy, do you imagine that this march is going to be a quiet march or a loud march?
I'm hoping it's loud. I want it to be
peaceful.
loud.
Yeah, peaceful, but we're hoping to bring some drums and have still a parade.
Yes.
Excellent.
Very loud. And I remember being in Chicago for the DNC convention, which was held in the same hotel as the American Medical Association. And we were hosting a rally in front of Blue Cross Blue Shield. So for those of you who are not familiar with the geography of Chicago, the hotel was just a few blocks, not far from the Blue Cross Blue Shield building. And what was interesting to me is we were hosting this huge rally, and I covered it for Real Progressives. And then people walked over, and we were talking to some of the administrators and the doctors and nurses as part of the medical convention, and they were all quietly nodding their heads going, yeah, we definitely want this. And talking to those people as they were taking votes about policy and programs, by the end of that 2-day event, they were coming out high-fiving the activists who are trying to promote Medicare for all. Meanwhile, in the DNC convention, the exact opposite was happening. We had a very impassioned speech by Nina Turner, and she was trying to convince the Democratic Party to support and embrace this, and was getting the cold shoulder. So let me ask you, why do you think a march now is going to help any of this? Who is this actually for?
Well, I would say it's for us, because this is, for the people, by the people. This is us. It will let the powers that be know that we will not be dissuaded by what they do. They can try to ignore us or think that that no matter what, that we're going to be okay with what they do. But no, we're not okay with it. This is what we want. We've been wanting it, and they keep sending signals that they don't care, but we care. And we don't care that they don't care, because this is what we want, and we want it now. We've been wanting it, like you said, that we've been talking about it. We've had presidents that said they wanted it, and the people said they want it. And so no matter what they do, this is what we want, and we're not giving up. This is what we want, and we're fighting for.
Yeah, we're working together to get the Medicare for all. I'm marching for the person who has cancer, and they don't have to worry about the medical bills. I'm marching for the person who was unemployed because of the pandemic and lost their insurance. I'm marching for the person who has to choose between paying their rent and paying their health care. Healthcare is a basic right. We do have money in this country, and I hope that we can spend it. If healthcare is of the nation, let's get healthcare for the people.
Absolutely. And this is huge. And I just wanted to weigh in just a touch here, because as I know that a few of you know this, and Carrie, you and Joy know this. I'm Canadian, right? I live in a country that has free healthcare, and a lot of the messaging from the government and from the bad pundits in this space is that the Canadian system, why would you want that? It sucks anyways, right? But all of those gaslighting talking points that you hear are completely false. I've tried to make that as clear as I can. Nothing annoys me more than an American trying to tell me what my healthcare system is like. I live here. I can go to the doctor and forget my wallet, and it doesn't matter.
Right, exactly. Nice. I want to get to some of the comments that are coming in, because, oh boy, Chicago's wide awake this morning. So good morning to Mike Toller, who was actually with me at that particular event that I mentioned in Chicago. So then we have Independent Progressive Alliance, Schaumburg area progressives are all in. Progressives of Kane County are showing up in force. Our Illinois Revolution is in the House. Medicare for All Northern Illinois will be on the train to Chicago.
That's right.
And then Mutineer 9 says, if you do nothing, you will get nothing. Power concedes nothing without a demand. So demand as loud, as annoying as possible. But one comment came in from CJ. Good morning, CJ. CJ talked about the military who has it. And I want to clarify a point. If you are active duty military, you have TRICARE, which is phenomenal. It is very much like improved Medicare for all. Here's a fun fact for you, CJ. As soon as you separate from the military, we assume they get VA coverage. Well, if you don't live near a VA facility and it's not feasible for you to get there, you get something called a UI benefit that is paid through Medicaid. AID, Medicaid. Those are voucher programs that allow you to go and see whatever doctor you want close to you. Here's the problem. We keep cutting Medicaid. We keep cutting those benefits. So that affects not just people who are struggling financially and qualify for Medicaid, it affects our veterans too. So when we talk about a program like Medicare for All, we are taking all of the ills and cuts that have happened to hurt our people, including our veterans, and we're correcting that. And what we're doing is actually having a national healthcare program so that members of Congress, who right now are the only ones in the nation who can get a platinum level coverage, we are bringing them in with us. And what does that do with human nature? Is a congressman going to cut their own damn benefits, cut their nose off to spite their face? Probably not. So they're probably not going to mess with our benefits if it hurts them too. So that's something to keep in mind. But let's expand this conversation just a little bit. Let's bring in Miss Savage and Sharif. National level, you guys have a ton of events. And Andy, if I can impose that graphic with all of the cities on it, which thank you so much for having Albuquerque, because now I get to go and cover it for all of these news organizations. And it's right down the street from me. I love it. So Savage, Sharif, how did this happen? Are you guys like being paid for this? Well, what the hell happened?
Oh my God, it's costing us money.
Right.
Don't have.
Don't tell us a lie, Savage. You let us know how you spent your George Soros check.
I'm in arrears with Soros. He owes me like 6 years of protest money.
Bastard. Oh. Maybe you're in the will. If he passes on, maybe you'll get paid finally.
People like Soros don't die. He's like fucking what's Kissinger? Like they have that hydrochrome, like whatever it is, injected, and they just live forever.
That's awesome. All right, so now the question on the table remains: how did this even get started? And from what I understand, I think that Sharif, you were on the very ground floor of this movement,
right? So what happened was that when the pandemic started, believe it or not, I love and hate telling the story because it upsets some people. So when Bernie Sanders said now wasn't the time for Medicare for all, that kind of like triggered me to go out and do something, because I'm one of those people that wasn't politically active. I'm a new organizer. I was the kind of person that stayed home. I watched like podcasts like you, and never was politically engaged. So that was like an awakening for me to just want to get off the couch and be proactive. But I didn't do anything at first because obviously we was in a pandemic. So I kind of waited like most people to wait it out. Maybe there's some backroom deal that I'm not aware of. And then when Forced to Vote happened, I was like, okay, this is it. Maybe this is what Bernie was saying. Now wasn't the time. Maybe that's the time. Maybe Forced to Vote was that critical moment to get healthcare in this country. And obviously, that didn't happen. But even then, I wasn't like going out there saying I want to be an activist. I just wanted to talk to different organizations. I joined the People's Party SLAG. I joined the Sunrise Movement SLAG. I joined the Arab Revolution SLAG. I joined the whole Washington SLAG, Rise and Resist. There was a lot of different organizations that I reached out to, that I followed on Twitter or followed on Facebook or other means, and just reached out to them folks and asked them, what's the next step? What are we doing? And Ricky Dunlop is someone who I met on the Forced to Vote SLAG, and a lot of our members were part of the Forced to Vote. And we went out and we started protesting in front of AOC's office around Forced to Vote to get things started. And then we just really felt that nothing was panning out with this. And none of the organizations that I tried to reach out to, I wasn't reaching anyone, I guess, for lack of a better word, who had who can give me a yes or no. We're going to hit the ground running with this. So I just felt like this was too slow. So I told Ricky we had to go back to DC. You know, I wanted to go to DC. I was planning on to, but I couldn't go. So I was like, we have to go to DC. We have to do something. We have to organize a march because we're not getting any answers from anybody. This is not helping. And then so I was on the Forced to Vote Slack and the People's Party Slack, and I started organizing with a lot of People's Party members, a lot of Green Party members, a lot of people from Our Revolution. So a lot of people, we don't have endorsements from everybody, but a lot of these members are working with us. So when we started at 5, and then it grew to having more members, but we only still had one march. And so we had a roadblock. It was like, well, how do we fund people to get to DC? So then the conversation started, well, maybe we do more marches. And so people was like, well, we'll do a march in LA. And then we went from 1 march to 2 march to 3 march, and then it started to snowball. And then more people we started to organize with online through Twitter, through the Slack, through these social media programs. That's how the movement grew. So we met people, we called people on the phone, we emailed people, we went to Zoom meetings, and then we started tweeting things out. And then I reached out to Joy, asking Joy, would she, answer the call, would she come to the DC March? And, Joy loves telling the story because she assumed that I was asking her to be like an organizer or a speaker or something. And at that time, I didn't even know anything how any of this worked. Because again, I'm still new to activism, I'm still new to organizing. So I just reached out to her, asking her to be a part of it. And she automatically stepped up in a huge way. The 2 biggest milestones, I would say early on, was Laura Felding from the Red Berets joined, and when Savage Joy joined.
Absolutely. And she should have a shout out too, because she has done so much.
Absolutely. She was so super helpful. Who to reach out to, who to talk to, same with Savage Joy, who to talk to, who to reach out to. Have you contacted this person yet? Do you have this person on your list yet? And keep in mind, I'm a sponge. So like I always have my pen and paper ready, writing people's names down. When I go to a Zoom meeting, okay, that's cool. I'm gonna write this down. Because I'm learning while I'm doing it. So a lot of people think I have a lot of experience. I was like, no, A, I just have people who are very supportive, and B, I just take really good notes.
Yeah, that's cool. And Savage, I wanted to ask you to tell that part, the beginning part of that story in your own words, because I caught the interview that you did with Jody Newell on the Up and Up, and I love that. The how you got involved in this. Can you describe to our audience that again, please?
Yeah, Sharif's making it sound like it was way more professional than it was. I'm not professional. So Sharif tagged me on Twitter and was like, Joy, like, are you down to come to this march? And as soon as I saw it, I PM'd him and I'm like, what do you need? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to reach out to this person. We're going to do this, blah, blah, blah. And the organizer in me just took over. Like, he didn't have to actually ask, like, will you organize? Like, put me to work.
That's so cool.
I gotta say, like, honestly, like, I don't want to cry, but Sharif has become one of my best friends in the entire world. I love you so damn much. And Sharif and I will both be DC. So we're on national team. So we oversee all 45 marches. But he and I are both DC. And Ricky, the 3 of us are the DC organizers. So, yeah, so we were the original, but to give you an idea, I joined at the beginning of April. When I joined, we had 3 marches. So you're talking, over 40 new marches within 3 months. This is bananas. We did not know anything like this was going to happen.
Not at all. Not at all. Also, too, there's a tidbit.
So,
Joy Bunting,
I want to.
I'm sorry. No, I was going to say.
I'm sorry, and I did want to get to some of the comments here. And Renee is pushing back on you, Sharif. She said, "Do not discredit yourself." She said it was your brain power, and you are being modest. So thank you to Renee. But there's one comment that I do want to get to from Adam. Adam is concerned about Medicare for all and taxes. And Adam, I want to put this suggestion out to you. Federal spending is not, taxes don't fund federal spending. So we can do Medicare for all today the exact same way it's paid for by members of Congress through the federal appropriations program. Taxes are not required. I will say that the legislation that is before us now, this is Medicare for all in Congress, that does include a tax mix in it, but it is not necessary. So one of the big objections that I've heard, and I'm going to open this up to everybody that we have with us this morning, is that we already have this piece of legislation in Congress right now. We already did the marches. We don't need to do more marches. And in fact, by hosting these marches, you're actually going to make Medicare for all toxic. How do you respond to that?
I tell people that what does sitting on your ass do for you? What I tell people, anyone with that attitude is privileged as fuck. I tell people that I just became disabled and started going blind last year, and I had to sign paperwork that said that I was being denied because this was my treatments were not medically necessary, and they were $24,000 a fucking month. So nobody with health insurance or on their parents or with no medical needs has a damn right to tell anybody the time is not now. I was the disabled speaker for Force the Vote. I still get that shit every day. Well, it's not the time and you're disrespecting the squad and so. Listen, these people you are worshiping say words like access, okay? Pramila Jayapal gave Biden an A for a grade. These people are giving lip service. These people ran on Medicare for all. These people told me to my face that they support Medicare for all, that they'll fight tooth and nail. I had AOC on my show. She told me. I met Rashida Tlaib in person. She cried as she held me because I told her I was going blind and I appreciated her fight in Medicare for all. She told me she would keep fighting for me. She looked me right in the face and told me this as she cried with me. So no, don't tell me that, let's just leave it to electoral politics. Privilege. That's the only word for it. We are watching eugenics of the poor. We are literally watching it. People are dying unnecessarily. You, with the internet, you have no excuse to say this shit. We have videos on our Twitter of, a young man going to pick up his insulin and not being able to afford it and crying and said, you know what? I guess I'll just die. This is violence. So for anyone to sit there and be like, oh, this is going to hurt the cause, privilege, shut the fuck up. You don't have to come. You don't have to volunteer. But how dare you tell a bunch of hurting, disabled, empathetic people that this is not the time and this is not the way. Force the Vote wasn't the time and the way. Now marching isn't the time and the way. Well, what the hell are you waiting for? Every 4 years, Dems have control of the Senate, the House, and the presidency. What the hell has it gotten us? Stop depending on these suits to change people's lives. We don't have time to wait. We don't have the time. You might. We don't.
Amen.
Right. So
just to add to that,
I would just like to say that we fund weapons and we fund war all the time without question. And when we present healthcare to Americans and people who need it, who need their insulin, who need these services, all of a sudden it's a question, not acceptable.
right.
And one thing I just wanted to come in with very quickly, and I'm just going back to the comment that Adam made about raising taxes for Medicare for all. That's not the case at all. And we've seen study after study, including studies funded by the Koch brothers, when there were two of them, that have shown that the cost of healthcare in the United States under a single payer system will go down substantially. which if you know anything about macroeconomics, will require a tax cut. So you'll be paying less taxes with Medicare for all. And so all of those talking points that I was referring to at the beginning of the show, they're completely bullshit, total bullshit. It helps everyone. It keeps people whole. They don't have to go into bankruptcy just because they get sick or injured. And people will have more money in their pocket because they're not doing the copay thing and they're not paying for all of the fees and services, and they're paying less taxes.
Yeah, not just people, but businesses, small businesses. And I think that's the key. We had Horace Pearl as a guest, and he's part of the Patriotic Millionaires. We talked to him. Small businesses are all in favor of this because that is the biggest expense, overhead, that small businesses have. And I'm talking about the 98% of small businesses, the restaurants, your mom and pop shops, all of these places that are right now after COVID struggling to survive, struggling to retain good workers. And this would actually help with the fight for 15 if they weren't having to pay so much for overhead on healthcare and taking care of their workers. So that's another component we haven't even touched on. But let me get to one more question about the detractors here. So we have heard, this one always makes me laugh because I know some of the people who are saying it are themselves grifters, but it's kind of a deflection thing. Sharif, are you a grifter? Are you just collecting all of this money, putting it in your pocket? Where's this money going?
Oh, absolutely. I'm pocketing everything. I'm going on vacation next week, right after the march.
He's taking all of the money and going to Milwaukee.
The night of the march, me, Sharif, and all our comrades are having the biggest pool party you've ever seen.
Right, and noodles for everybody.
Yes, noodles for all. And I don't know where they think we're getting this money, because we have a fiscal sponsor and we don't have shit. So I don't know where they're, I mean, and not to mention there's 45 marches that this shit is getting spread across. So I posted is like, just myself, I've charged over $3,000 between renting the sound system, and then we have Ricky who spent like $2,000 on renting porta pots, and then we have Sharif who spent money. We have 3 organizers in DC, and we've spent about $6,000 on our credit cards just for that one march. Now, keep in mind, I haven't had income in 19 months. I'm disabled, and my Social Security finally starts the end of this month. So these are people, when people use that the overused stupid ass word grifter, they either don't know what it means or they're just being ignorant on purpose, because we have got nothing. We literally are spending money to make this shit happen.
Well, in Chicago, we could use a bunch of donations because I don't have any money to put on a credit card. So I don't have any credit. So
when this is all over, if you want to get a hold of Savage Joy, you'll have to look in the city of Fargo and look for Svetlana.
Yes, Svetlana Bobush. I have come from Russia to talk about the objection of the Medicare for all. And even though I have it in Russia, I do not want the United States to have.
That's exactly right. So, Joy, you mentioned that you need donations for Chicago. So how do people help you? In particular, and I gotta say, I'm so proud of my city because Chicago is representing. I'm seeing people from Indiana in the chat going, "Yeah, we're gonna be there. We're gonna be there."
Oh, great!
Yes, awesome.
I love it.
Yes.
So how can people help with the Chicago events?
There is a link. There is a link that the ADA has provided just for us. So if you provide that link, it's just for us. If you click on that and you donate to that, then it will definitely just go just to our mark. We need all the help we can get because we like to have the porta potties, but we don't have the front money to provide to actually book these porta potties. And we got the sound guy, but we need to be able to give money in his hand for him to say, I'm definitely going to be there. So we could definitely use, people putting that, click, 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 please, click, click, click.
Well, Joy, what's cheaper, porta potties or Depends undergarments?
Well, Depends are cheaper. That's true, but I'd rather not put people through that because we're trying to also appeal to the people with disabilities, because one of the porta potties will be for wheelchair access.
Right.
We definitely would like that as well, because there are some places nearby that you can use their facilities, but it would be great if it would be right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Need to use. Yeah, so please.
Yeah, in DC, we have no near businesses or anything. We're in the park, so that was like a must. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, it was like we got to charge this or do something, because it just, certain. I think it was over a mile to the nearest bathroom, and we're expecting in DC a hell of a lot of people. Yeah. So yeah, we can put the DC direct link in the chat too.
Yes. Oh, yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I would say the top 4 marches, and no disrespect to any other marches, is Chicago for sure, Seattle, LA, and DC. We're expecting big numbers for those 4 marches.
Well, and New York.
New York too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that
now I am personally offended because I got to brag on my new adopted city again. Hold on, Albuquerque, New Mexico is representing, and oh, by the way, if you didn't know, and here's my thing, I thought Chicago was liberal. No, Albuquerque is liberal as fuck. We have ended qualified immunity. We have, at a state level, for everybody. We have end of life rights. We have reproductive rights. We have raised the minimum wage. You admit the only thing we do not have is Medicare for all. That's it. And we have to rely on the rest of you fuckers in order for that to happen. So that is why Albuquerque's, we're doing it. We're doing it. So I just shout out to Albuquerque. You guys are phenomenal. But real quick, I want to get to the demands that Joyce sent me, and I love every bit of this because we talked about, there's that quote, you got to have those demands, and the demands that she sent me, there are 3. So the first one is, we demand Congress pass improved and expanded Medicare for all, single payer, everyone in, no one out. Number 2, we demand that healthcare be recognized as a right for all people. 3, we demand Congress prioritize healthcare first with respect to the federal budget. Wow. These, your comments on that, go ahead.
Well, I put those out there, but Sharif had a lot to do with those demands. We've been meeting like a few times trying to get the demands together, and even though we all agreed that that's what we wanted, it still was a heated discussion because we were wanting to get into the weeds real bad, but we also understood the need in terms of like marketing and trying to make it simple and concise as possible. And so Sharif had a hand in helping us go, okay, just make it simple. Just don't have all this huge list. And we are going to be adding to that list in Chicago too, because it was hard enough just to get us all to say, okay, these 3, but each city can add if they want whatever it is they want. So I definitely want to add erasing medical debt to that as well. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was actually going to say to Joy's point, when it says federal budget, when we actually list these out, I'm going to say which includes removing medical debt. Because that's the point. I'm definitely going to do that. I'm also going to put making sure communities that don't have enough hospitals Obviously, that's usually Black and brown communities. So that needs to be included, making sure we have funding for doctors and nurses. That needs to be included, making sure doctors and nurses can get paid to go to school. That also, that a little bit ties into education, because you have to. You can't like not include that. If you're going to have Medicare for all, then we need enough doctors. If they can't get to school because they can't afford it, it has to be included too. So that also ties into that as well.
Absolutely.
One of my clients in Georgia, private insurance clients, she had just graduated from medical school, and she was, I want to say, an anesthesiologist who, in the prime of their career, they make a decent salary. But she had just graduated, and she was looking at her her student loan payment of $3,000 a month starting out in her career. And I remember sitting on the phone with her, and she was crying. And here I am, an independent consultant, helping her find insurance that she could afford. And here she was, just came out of medical school. So it almost sounds like progressive policy works together to create a country and a culture that lives up to our constitutional values, or the people we say we are. Maybe I'm crazy, but that sounds kind of like a good place to be. So,
and I think, one of the, people watching this who may not be like super educated on Medicare for all will probably think, all this sounds good. Why don't we have it? So one of my demands, I'm the MC in DC, so I'm going to be talking about money in politics. Money in politics is why we don't have it. That's why. Because big pharma, big insurance, they are buying elections. These candidates are like, oh, we owe them not to cancel this. We owe them not to do Medicare for all. And unless that changes, this is going to be a fight. So it's getting that shit taken care of as well.
Right.
100%.
it all goes together.
Yeah.
Okay,
And the Green Party, we do not accept corporate contributions or corporate PAC money.
Say that again, Anna.
The Green Party does not accept corporate contributions, and they do not accept corporate PAC money. We are no corporate.
Oh,
Right.
weird that would happen. That's
it can be done.
Can be done.
Right.
Well, I think Senator Sanders showed us that and then became a Democrat full time. So,
Well, he can
Really?
sit on the
Green
folding
Party.
chair with his handmade mittens.
I love it. And okay, before we get out of here, I got to mention this because it didn't come out. Anna, you're running for office.
Yes, I am. I'm running for State Representative District 85 in Illinois. This is my second time running as a Green. I did reach over a ballot line last year when I ran in 2020. It was a very short campaign, and I was delighted to reach over a ballot line. But this time, I'm going to win.
Right. If you're in Anna's district and you don't vote for her, you're cotton-headed Ninny Buckets.
Whatever you just said. So I love this. Andy and I have talked about this a number of times. Progressive candidates who tend to be underfunded, we don't actually get the marketing materials out to let people know because most people aren't online and paying attention. But you're running twice, which is exactly which helped Marie Newman sitting in Congress right now. She ran twice. So Anna, I hope that all of these groups that are out there for Medicare for All are supporting you. How can we get involved to help you make a change for your district?
I will be putting up the website, voteforanna.org. Oh, that should be coming today. So look out for that.
Anna's been a big help helping with the march.
Well, it was the Illinois Green Party. We were one of the early co-sponsors to the Chicago March, and we were very happy to be participating in that.
Right.
That's
this
awesome.
is one of those. I just want to, our vote blue no matter who progressive people. This is one of those opportunities where you can put principle ahead of party and make a difference for all of us. So please consider that. And here's Anna, who is not only walking the talk, but she is putting her life on hold to run for office yet again. So if you were not familiar with Anna and her candidacy, you are now. No excuses. Please get involved. So
And she's a mom.
Before,
She's a mom on top of all that.
We can do it. We need more moms. We need more moms
right.
in office.
That's right.
You always respect moms.
That's right.
And dad. And
dad.
You know, anybody who's kind to kids and can make that difference. You know, we're adults. We have to put on our adult pants and realize they're kids. And we also need to take care of their future with Medicare for all, make sure they're healthy. I just hope to pass the baton to my children, and we can have a better world. It doesn't have to be revolved around corporate money. It doesn't have to be revolved around war money. We can actually have a nice culture and civilization that does not involve corporations or corporate money that goes into the politicians' pockets.
That's right.
And this and this lets the capitalists know. This march declares to all of the capitalists, all the neoliberals, all of the centrists, that this is coming and it matters, and it's going to do it. If your critique of the left or the progressive movement or whatever you want to call the people that want Medicare for all is that they can't organize, they don't have the ability, they don't have the skills, they don't have the financial backing, they are showing that they did it. Joy, Sharif, you guys threw this together. You're paying for stuff on your own. It's gained momentum to the nth degree. This has done it. Okay. This shows everyone that it puts that rumor to bed that the left can't organize. We've done it. Right. So now we got to go out and get as many people out there and show them how we do it, because they can ignore, the politicians can ignore you. The mainstream media can ignore you, but thousands of people coming up the street cannot be ignored. And that's huge.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for saying that. I think a lot of people think we're like this organization or something, when really it's just a bunch of us individuals from across the country who are pissed off, who want to see a better humanity. And that's all it is. So, you know, when people are naysayers and stuff, like, it blows my mind, because it's like, A, what are you doing? And B, like, y'all use hashtags, general strikes and stuff. Well, that's not going to happen unless there's already been some foundation laid. This has never been done, ever. You've seen like nationwide women's marches, but they're corporate, things like that. This is literally as grassroots as it gets. There is nothing more grassroots than a bunch of poor ass people coming together, organizing 16 hours a day, you know, absolutely exhausted just to do this. This has never been done. So, you know, and that's not to be sanctimonious. That's just to say, like, you know, when people are naysayers about it, it's just like, you guys have no idea how much work we have put into this. And we are laying groundwork, whether you like it or not.
Absolutely. This is the template. If you want to organize, this is the template to go by, because it works, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe ending qualified immunity could be next.
I think they just let all the progressive policies fall over like dominoes now.
Yeah, so Anna, you and I need to talk about how we ended qualified immunity here in New Mexico. It's easy, especially based on Illinois law. I'll show you how to do it.
What?
Like that. Yes. Oh, absolutely. It is easy. And so I just want to thank the chat is blowing up today. And what is what is heartening to me is everybody in this chat is sharing information back and forth, credible, factual information. You guys are awesome today. Thank you. And so much support is coming in from everywhere, particularly for Chicago, because I was nervous for a little while. Chicago wasn't getting the support that it needed. I'm like, come on, really? The city has 6 million people, 6 million people that was hardest hit in the Black community because of COVID. 6 million people where there are healthcare deserts in one of the richest cities in the nation. Chicago itself gets $2.7 billion of revenue every year. There is no excuse for someone not to be getting access to healthcare among a number of other things. So Chicago, you better show up and do this. And then
show up.
all the other cities, someone mentioned in our chat that the graphic we put up about the cities is a little outdated. I think that was Ricky, so thank you, Ricky. If you want the updated list, go to the Medicare for All. It's the m4all.org, and I put that in the chat several times, no excuses. Go out to the website. You can even buy stuff in the shop, which I'm not gonna lie, I was shopping while we were talking. So I'm gonna get my gear ready for next week. But you can go out and support all of these things. Now I know we're running really short on time. So I'm just gonna open it up. Last thoughts, Joy, Savage Joy, Anna, Sharif, what do you got? What do you want people to know that is most important to get ready for next week?
Well, I will say that in terms of the gear, this is the best day to get it, to make sure you have it in time. Because if you get just a t-shirt, there's not that much of a problem with getting your t-shirt on time. But if you want to add to that and you want to get extra things, then you definitely, this is the day. And I would suggest not putting it off. If you can help it, try and get it today. Please get it today.
I was also going to add that I hope everyone realized that these marches are a signal that we don't have representation in this country. We always talk about we're a democratic society. We are not. And the fact of the matter is that all these marches are happening, all these different people who are coming out to push for Medicare for all. This is the awakening. You know, I'm gonna use that word a lot because now people are starting to see that electoral solutions are not a solution. And so I do hope that people do come out, keep that in mind, that keep applying pressure, and that this is one of many marches. You know, our team and I are talking about what's next. I'm not going to share too much about that, but that is something that we have definitely talked about because we definitely don't think that next week we're going to get Medicare for all. So applying pressure, do not go to sleep. You know, stay with us and continue to fight because this is going to be a long battle. It's not over. This is just the beginning.
It's a hell of a beginning.
Yeah.
Savage Joy, anything to say? You got any words of wisdom, words of encouragement?
Well, I don't know about that, but I think, you know, I just want people to like seriously think of the power of, you know, thousands of people marching for one cause across 45 cities at the same exact time. Like, think about that power. Think about how beautiful that is going to be and how proud you would be to be part of that history. And you know, honestly, I have been dealing with so much. I've been getting doxxed. I've been getting threats. I've had people say I am faking being blind. People are saying they're going to call Social Security and tell them I'm a fraud. I've had to deactivate my Twitter twice. I've had to lock it twice. I'm going through hell and back for this. And all I want is at the end of it, I don't want to get emotional, but to say that it was all worth it. That's all I want.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to see a doctor without having to check your bank account. That would be nice.
Yes. Exactly. Oh, real quick, we are going to get, if I can fit it in, Oscar Brown Jr.'s daughter has agreed to come and perform Maggie Brown, which I'm so excited.
Woo!
Wow.
She's gonna come.
Let's go, Chicago.
Yes. So please.
Somebody
Come
can
on out.
record that for me. Please record that so we can stream it. So yeah, I am going to be doing interviews and live streams from Albuquerque. I know that there are other independent journalists all across the country who will be doing the same thing for each one of these marches, because people have got to know. We don't even know the effects of climate change in our own country and seeing it live, let alone something like this where the donor class does not want this policy to happen. So I really appreciate all of you taking the time out of your schedules. I know you have jobs and lives plus this huge project you're working on. So it was such a joy to have all of you
Times
here
two.
and join us this morning. Yeah, double the joy. So thank you so much, and we appreciate it. And if you're watching this, please share this with your friends and family, because they are not necessarily getting the information about this kind of event, and we need everybody to show up. Please do your part to share it and get everybody involved, make it a family outing, and thank you so much. So Andy, as always, final thoughts and take us out.
Well, I just wanted to share one thing, and unfortunately it isn't going to work out for me, but I was really hoping that the Canadian-US border was going to open up, and I was going to make a surprise trip to Detroit and hang out with my brother from another mother from another country, Rome Bethia, and Dr. Victoria Dooley, and on a week from tomorrow. Unfortunately, the Canadian border doesn't open up. I think it's going to be 8 days late, so it didn't make it. But anyways, I think that I'm going to be involved in a broadcast with our P, where we're going to be doing some critiquing and doing some interviews live during the day. So we're doing my part from my chair at my computer in the Great White North. Everyone, please, please, please support this event. It is so important. It is huge. It moves us in the proper direction finally, where we understand what we have to do to organize. And kudos to all four of our guests here, and Laura and everybody else that is, and Ricky, who I've never met. I have a relationship with Ricky on email. I send him a graphic and he says, "Thank you so much, Ricky." I don't know who Ricky is, but that's our relationship. But to all of you, thank you so much for what you're doing. Here's to a great event. Everybody out there, please support this. Thank you so much for watching today. Enjoy the rest of your Friday and your weekend. We will see you here.
Thank you both so much for your unwavering support this entire time. You are one of the indie media places who has been 100% since day one, and we appreciate it so much.
Well, we are glad to do it. And on that note, we're getting out of here for the weekend. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Much love.
We about that, ayy. We in the zone. We out here, yeah. Spitting the facts, how it's supposed to be. Habit the dog.